You are now tuned in to Owen's Exhibit.
All right, welcome back, listeners. This is an episode that we've been planning for a little while now. We have a guest on today. Of course, my name, Owen, and I'm here today with Kase. He's going to give you a brief introduction about himself. So, Kase.
Yeah, so I go by the name of Kase. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an artist, and I'm just someone who believes in themselves, you know? So, yeah, you know, golden child. Kase, what's going on, man?
Wonderful. Well, Kase, before we really get into the heart and soul of this interview, I want to ask you some questions about your personality, some of your interests and hobbies. I guess that can really start us off. So, like, what are some of your hobbies?
Hanging out with friends, of course. Let me think. I definitely didn't expect that question. Hobbies. Hanging out with friends, recording music, writing music. Yeah, I don't really... I just got back into playing video games too. So just to take my mind away from things and like getting off the phone. Also like just being outside, meditating, reading, journaling, you know, mindfulness activities. So yeah.
Good. That's a good mixture of like escaping, doing the video games, but also like bringing yourself back to like your own mentality and your well-being and that sort of thing. So if you had like a signature dance, what would it be called? And maybe what would the moves be?
That's mad funny. I'm not sure. I'm really not. It would probably be like a toe tap, something funny.
Yeah.
Just because that's something I used to do in high school, like just being funny, like just I clear it out and then I just do like this with my foot side to side.
That's what you were doing on the hoop court? Because
Nah,
I noticed you were a hooper.
Ball. Yeah.
When you would hit a three, what would be the celebration?
Oh, I would just be like this, like like,
ghost
you know,
face.
like Kobe.
Yeah.
That's my favorite player.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you want an unlimited supply of?
Love.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah.
What's the best midnight meal?
That's a great question. Best midnight meal. I do have a lot of midnight meals, but honestly, it would probably just have to be like a rice and beans type of thing. Like I like home cooked food, so if I'm starving, that's probably what I want.
Rice and beans sounds kind of bland to me. So how do you kind of like chef it up? What do you do?
Like red beans, white rice, and then a meat. So it could be like a steak, or a chicken type of thing.
Biggest pet peeve?
I hate when people tap my shoulder.
You do?
Like, if you know my name, why are you tapping me?
Okay.
I hate that.
What's a conspiracy that you believe in?
Oh, my gosh. What's a conspiracy that I believe in that won't get me canceled? I believe that there is a certain percent of people that control everything, like media. And just narratives. If they're not like me and you, like independent, there's probably some controlling going on.
Okay.
So yeah, the biggest companies in the world are probably controlled by a few people.
Right. There is some underlying things happening out there and some things are getting exposed.
Correct.
So do you have any hidden talents?
I feel like I'm doing them now. Like I didn't know I could rap. I didn't know I could sing. I didn't know I could write songs. These were hidden to me. So, those are probably my hidden talents. I feel like I'm living in my talents now.
Yeah. I guess this is a good segue into the heart and soul of this conversation, which is where are you from?
I'm from Jersey. My background is, I have a church background. I definitely grew up going to church every Sunday, being embarrassed, going into the choir. Like my parents put me into the choir, playing drums. Like anyone who's grown up in the church in my type of community you had to bounce around and do everything. Like there's times where I got called to do prayer. Like, so I was constantly performing in front of people. Now that I think about it, I was constantly in front of people uncomfortable, which is why I could be today in front of people very comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
It took lots of practice. And I honestly, from my perspective, I think it is like in everybody. I don't think like obviously you can have like a personal preference to just like not be social, whatever. But I think within everybody, it just comes with getting comfortable. Like you said, like you were uncomfortable to begin with. So now that you've kind of developed this personality, how do you think it's really helped you like establish the presence that you've had? Do you think like you've been more willing to put yourself out there in front of people and take risks? Like how has that trait helped you?
Yeah, it just gave me, I have like the ultimate confidence to just thrive. You know, this is why I grew my hair out. I get braids, I have chains, earrings, like complete authenticity. This is, if I was a child, this is who I would look up to. Like, I feel like I became the person that I needed, if that makes sense. So I kind of just go out into the world as authentic as I can, as me as I can. And it just gave me a bunch of confidence because now I go out into the world myself and no one bats an eye. All of the things that I was afraid of growing up, like my appearance or how I speak or anything like that, I just fought through them and they don't really matter anymore. You know, I'm very comfortable with self.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this question gets asked a lot, but honestly, it's something that also I want to like ask myself, which is, what would you tell your younger self? Like, what's a piece of advice or like, what's something you would tell your younger self?
Yeah. I would tell my younger self, relax. Just go with the flow of life. Too many times we go against the flow. And I have this analogy where it's like a current, you know, a river. You ever try to go upstream, it's shit hitting you in the face. It's rocks on the way there, sticks. But if you go with it, it's like a calmer, a calmer flow. So I kind of just go with the flow of life, where life is taking me. Even if I do hit a stone or a rock, it's going to help me. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, going with the flow of life, you realize that everything is meant for your highest good, whether it looks the way you want it to or not. You know, so even when things I perceived as bad happened to me, they ended up being good. You get what I'm saying? So
Right.
That's what I'm learning, is to just stay within the flow of life. Very important. So that's what I would tell my younger self. Stay within the flow. Don't fight it. Because when I fought it is when I lost. Like when I tried to become a basketball player because I thought that's what was for me, because I was naturally good at it, but I kept getting hurt. So that was the universe or God telling me, we have something different for you. So I'm perceiving it as, oh, I keep getting hurt. What's wrong with me? Blah, blah, blah. But it was nudging me in the direction of where I am now, which is music, entrepreneurship, helping other people. So I would just tell my younger self, don't make your own plans, you know? Go with the plan for you, if that makes sense.
Right. And in our earlier conversations before even hopping on this, I can already start to like see these dots connect. Basically, when you were talking about growing up in the church and doing everything from drums to saying prayer, and now today you mentioned that you're doing, you know, some motivational speaking. You're also a recording artist. So in church, was there a specific thing you really really enjoyed doing? Was it playing the instrument, or was it like maybe singing in the choir? Like, what was it? Was there anything at that moment that you really enjoyed doing?
The one thing that always stuck out, and I believe this, is like whatever you get, like chills isn't only because you're cold. Sometimes chills is your soul telling you something, almost like trying to come out your body to tell you something. So when I would just hear certain things in music, I would get chills like on the back of my neck or on my arms. And I feel like that was my soul telling me, you're supposed to be doing music, because it was something about the music and just the feeling. Like in church, there's feelings attached to the music. It's not just let's turn up, you know? It's the music is trying to get an emotion out of you. And fast forward to now, that's kind of what my music is. It's very true to self, very emotionally vulnerable. And I think that's the correlation, is that I really loved music without even knowing it, if that makes sense, even as a kid.
Yeah, I think we're really going to bounce all around with this, because from you saying that, I really want to know, what do you want audiences to experience from your work? Or like, how do you want people to connect with the songs that you put out? Do you want it to be kind of like uplifting, or what is really the kind of like ultimate goal with these projects?
The ultimate goal of these projects is to tell the truth from my perspective, from my eyes, because how else would I feel comfortable performing it, or how else would I even feel comfortable giving it to people if it's not the truth? That's just me. Some people are comfortable with not telling the truth, you know? But for me, I want the audience to get the real me, because in there you can grab something from you. So even like last week, people hit me up saying like, you don't know what this song meant to me. So when you tell your story, people connect to it as long as it's authentic, and people feel that. So I think what I want listeners to know is to, if you relate to it, indulge in it, like embrace it, because it came from a vulnerable place from me, and I want the people who hear me to connect to it, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I just want all of my listeners or people who find joy in listening to me to connect to it in one way or another, even if it's he's telling the truth. It doesn't have to be just I understand what he's saying or I relate to what he's saying. It's that he means that because it's authentic to him.
Right. I think any creative person that's really doing it in a way that kind of like really resonates with people is doing it from their own perspective. Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to create art the way that they see the world, like through the lens that they see the world. So it definitely seems like that's exactly how you're approaching this this medium, this music and that sort of thing. Is there a specific project or a specific song that you've put out there that really captures a certain side of you?
I think all of them do. Mm-hmm. I don't go into the studio with like preconceived ideas. You know, I kind of just let it come to me. Like I just go with the flow. Once again, I'm a very I don't know if you know anything about astrology, but like I'm just a Capricorn. Like I'm someone who's my whole sign is grounded. You know, like we're close to the earth. We just believe in like, we're called the mountain goats. Like we have to achieve something. So the way I'm achieving this is just by being myself. Right. And I feel like we all can achieve anything by just being ourselves. So I don't think there's a specific song. I just think me as a whole, I'm constantly being myself. So each song is just another side of me. And I believe that we're all multidimensional. Like we're not just one way. You know, society tries to put us in a box. You do podcasts, so just do podcasts. You do music, just do music. You know, we can do much more than just one thing. So even in my music, some days I might be heartbroken and I'll go record it. Some days I might feel motivated, like I'm the best ever. I'll go record it. Some days I might feel like I love my friends who support me. I'll go record it. So it all comes from an authentic, real place, because in my heart, I feel like if not, why do it?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a good way to navigate these things. It's whatever you're experiencing in that time that motivates you to then go and create a great piece of work.
Yeah.
So I want to take it back to your days in church. Mm-hmm. At that time, was there anything else that you were interested in, or like at what moment in your life is this? Is this elementary school? Like where?
Yeah, this is from the moment I opened my eyes. My grandfather he's a pastor.
Okay.
So I was in church the minute I could remember, you know, but I think that was orchestrated to create who I am today, you know, like, so as long as I can remember, I've been in church.
And then when you got on to elementary school and middle school, were you really focused on basketball? Was that the thing?
Yeah. It's to the point where it became my personality. You know, you start getting jerseys, you start playing the games, you start getting in the games, you start going to travel basketball instead of rec. You start playing for the schools, you start doing AAU. So basketball kind of becomes your personality and it becomes your life. And that's kind of what happened to me. Of course, I was still going to church because I'm a kid. Like, I don't have a choice. But basketball was definitely the priority in my life. I just wanted to make it. I loved it. I studied the game. But I think in the long run, it was sent to me to teach me a mentality. What we get from sports, you really can't find anywhere else, you know? Just that competitive spirit. You learn teamwork. You learn your limits. You learn how hard you can go. And you learn that mental fatigue. Because mental fatigue comes before physical fatigue sometimes, you know? or vice versa. Physical fatigue comes before mental fatigue. You actually have you got 2 more reps, you know? You don't feel like you do, but you do. So I think I just took a lot from a lot from sports and put it into music.
Okay. And at that time, were you exploring anything to do with music or anything to do with the things that you're doing now? Like on the side, were you maybe recording, music, or were you looking up to different people in your life who were making music? Was there any kind of like exploration beyond just playing basketball?
Yeah, so I didn't notice it, but I was 14 with Biggie's album, Tupac. Like I was a hip hop historian before I even knew. My mom had me at 18. So growing up in the car, in the back seat, in the what's it called? Not the high chair, but what is it called?
Oh yeah.
What is it called, Father? The car seat. Yeah, as a kid, that's why I said it. The car seat. I remember hearing Jay-Z, Biggie, Lil Kim, just these major artists at a time where you had to be good at your craft to even be on the radio. So it just did something to me. So just growing up, I remember having my iPods and listening to great music and studying it almost unconsciously. I didn't realize I was doing it, and I didn't even realize I loved it because basketball was so at the front of my brain. I didn't realize what I was doing subconsciously the whole time, which was studying music.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you realize that basketball really wasn't it for you?
Yeah. So I went to college. I went to a Division I college, and I'm like, I got an offer or two, but it was D3, and I'm like, I'm better than that. Like, I don't really care. Maybe I'll do it again one day. Then one day I got a call like I was at Duke or something. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, this is Rowan University. We saw your tape. How tall are you? I'm like 6'1", 6'2". They're like, oh, really? So you grew? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, we saw some of your film. We really want you to come to the school. I'm like, I'm out. I transferred immediately because I'm like, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing,
Right.
I get there. Right before the season, I tear 4 ligaments in my ankle. So I could barely walk. After I transferred to school, could barely make it to class. I only know a few people because it's in Jersey, So here I am, sad as hell. Like, damn, I thought this was for me. The next year comes around, I tweak my back. I'm out a few more months, could barely walk again. This is right before the season, both 2 years in a row. I only have 1 more year of college left, at that point. So I just remember being in my room by myself because at that time I had an apartment, and I'm like, God, what are we doing? Like, I thought that I was sad, and then I got in an accident, like so many things happened at this one time, and I don't claim depression, but that was a very low point in my life where I'm like, I have no direction. I thought it was basketball. I thought this is where God and the universe was pushing me, and it just not working out, And in that moment, I heard a voice say, leave school and do music. And the second thought was, if you apply yourself, you could be the best ever or one of the best ever. After that, I'm like, I'm out. I called my parents. I'm like, after this semester, I'm done. Wow. Are you crazy? You're almost done, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know. My gut, my heart just tells me to pursue this. Mm-hmm. So, other family members started saying stuff like, he's stupid. That's crazy, blah, blah, blah. And that's when my parents was like, all right, you go do it. We got your back. We're going to support you. So, since then, so much has came out of it. Within a year and a half, I was already performing in LA, Seattle. I was already on tour, within a year and a half of that day. So I guess this is what was for me, and I'm just seeing how it opens up at the moment, And it's opening up. I feel like life is a flower, and it starts off like this, and it just slowly opens up until you blossom to who you were supposed to be. And I feel like every day I'm getting closer to that ultimate version of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely a good analogy to use, the flower and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to hear how you kind of took these voices or these signs to kind of guide you along this path. So along this path, was there anything particularly, like, besides obviously all these crazy injuries, but was there anything else, like, once you started going down this path, was there anything else that, like, came up that you're like, this is really challenging. How am I going to navigate this? Am I even supposed to be doing this music thing? Like, what was the first kind of like moment of like, oh, this isn't going to be easy, or like what?
Oh, as soon as you leave college,
Yeah,
you're back at home, back at square one. You got to find a job. You know, you got to find a way to make income. You got to figure out, how does music even work? So I had to see like, okay, I go to the studio. Okay, got that. All right. So I'm just figuring it out in real time. But like I was mentioning earlier, my friend Sekeller J, who's an artist himself, he one day, I don't know what made him do this, but he randomly was like, I'm booking studio time. Come by, do a freestyle. Write it before you come and we'll record it. I'm like, bro, I don't want to do this. This is crazy. You know, even though I got the feeling to do music and I jumped out the window with it, I still didn't want to do it. It just didn't seem like something, I never thought about it. You know, I never wanted to be like everyone else. But it turns out I wasn't at the end of the day. But so I was just figuring it out on the fly. So that was the first challenge, was how do you even do this? Who am I as an artist? I had to change my Instagram handles and everything, you know?
Yeah. And so you're dealing with all of these things, trying to navigate everything that is coming at you full force. And you decide, okay, I'm going to put down this freestyle. That was your first track that you recorded?
So I recorded that freestyle with him. And I'm like, okay, this shit ass. I'm like, this sucks. But it was all right, you know? You could tell that I had some type of gift and talent in it, you know? It was okay. But then I made a song called She Got It. And then that was the first one I put out. And people loved it. It got like 3,000 streams on SoundCloud in like a week. I'm like, what the heck? Again, it was for me. So that was a sign that, hey, you keep going, things are going to happen. So it was like a song called She Got It. That was my first song, which I'm embarrassed about it today, but that was the first one.
Right. You talk about your friend, I forgot his name.
Sekeller J.
So what other people are really supporting you along this journey? What other people kind of have you met along this journey? Maybe you can touch on that.
In general or in that time period?
In general, let's say.
In general. I met a few people in the industry. Of course, my guy JP is always around to support me. I don't know why, but he just does it, you know, something maybe he believes too. Well, obviously he believes too. And I encourage anyone who's a friend of someone who wants to do something to be like him, you know, because it's important to, on the days I want to quit, it's like, shit, I can't quit. You know what I mean? He's right behind you, just like, so yeah, you got a show on this day, you got to do, it's like, crap, I can't quit if I wanted to. He's so attached to it, you know? Yeah. So I think having that extra support and backup definitely helps. But yeah, I met so many people, artists, entrepreneurs, painters, photographers, videographers. We had bad run-ins, we had great run-ins with people. It's been a hell of a journey so far. But I would say JP stood the test of time, and my parents always support, and then just a bunch of people who love the music and support the image and what we're doing in the community. They all stood the test of time, and they're still here. So, was
there anybody that you could look up to or get mentorship from or like advice from?
Yes. Should I say Kev? Yeah, Kev Webb, who is A Boogie, former manager, and Fabulous's former manager. You know, we kind of got in contact with him through JP, and he was just telling me just how great I am. Like, I can always call him to just put me in the right direction, you know, or to like, you know, feed me good energy. He's one person who's kind of stuck around and told us what to do. He told us one time, you should do your own in-studio session, like invite people to the studio with you. And we did, and it worked out. You know, we had a good 20 people in the studio, even though I only allowed 20, but it worked out. So we do meet people along the way, but again, your journey is your journey. It's only so much that people can do until it's your time. Because even we're doing everything right, and every time we ask people in the industry, how can you help? They're like, keep going. Like, I don't. Right. It kind of just has to happen at this point. So, yeah.
I think that's something I've noticed myself. Like, I was even talking to my friends the other day. I was like, is there an easier way to do this? Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, there might be easier ways. Like, you get an endorsement, but you're cutting corners. Like, your fans are only going to be there for so long. Those fans aren't going to be genuine.
Yeah.
They might show up to like your first tour.
Yeah.
You're going to go on tour again, and they're not going to be there because they were only there because it was a moment in time and you were like only popping for that moment.
Yep.
So like to do it the way that you're doing it, it's like you're building a genuine fan base.
Yeah.
You're building an audience that actually resonates with the stuff that you're putting out. And so what would you say is your next step from where you are at now? What do you think is in the, future?
Yeah. I do feel like I'm very close. Just in my gut, I just feel like we're not that far away. It's just certain things that need to happen. And I think I have to continue to open up who I am. Like how I started off with music. I left school for music. I ended up owning a clothing line, ended up being an entrepreneur, having LLCs, doing philanthropy, doing motivational speaking. So I feel like what I thought was the end, which is, oh, you're just going to be an artist, it became bigger than that. So I feel like there's more things that I can't even conceive in my head right now or perceive in my head because it's bigger than what I could even imagine. So I think just what's next for me is to continue to stay true, continue to be open to whatever the universe has for me, and continue to be great, just keep my foot on the gas and stay consistent. In my heart, I don't know what's next. I have no clue, and I don't want to put my own thoughts on it because my own thoughts could be too finite, like I need something infinite. I need something that's bigger than what I could imagine. And that's kind of how I kept it. I didn't put my own thoughts on my journey. I kind of just let it happen how it's supposed to. And it's been better than I can imagine.
So I want to take us back to the She Got It single. And that was the first single that you really felt like you got traction on. And what was your next step after that where you're like, okay, now we got to like make this the first single for this, EP, or like what was your thought process?
My thought process was like, oh crap, this is working.
Right.
People actually love this song and people are listening to it. So my next thought was make an EP. And that's when I came to True Colors EP. And I didn't really tell anyone I was making it. I kind of just did it. Something in me just wanted to keep it close to me, so it can be the purest version of myself at the time. But when I was done, I pulled up on JP and a bunch of my best friends, and I just played it for them, and they enjoyed it. They're like, oh, wow, you actually can do this. Like, what the heck? We didn't know this. And I'm like, I didn't know either. So that was the next plan of action, was to make an EP and do something on Apple Music and do something that lasts. So,
right.
Yeah.
What is your process with putting out this EP? It's really just kind of like coming with whatever inspiration strikes you and just keep building on that?
Yeah, honestly, the process is the same as it is today, which is constantly listening to beats and whatever pulls a string in me and whatever flows naturally to me, write about it. Like the music kind of tells me what needs to be on it. It's like I'm painting with words. Honestly, it's not me. It's not like my physical body doing it. It's something through me, just allowing the music to flow through me. I don't know how to explain it, but I can almost close my eyes and do it. Yeah. Right. So a lot of my newer songs they only take me 20 minutes to write, at most 25 minutes, because it's to the point where I just am music. Like I could just do it. I could hear it. I've done enough repetitions where I feel like I've mastered my craft to a certain extent, and it just happens. So even back then, it was the same process. It was just probably take me closer to 40 minutes or an hour to write a song. Right. Because my physical brain didn't really know how do I structure this. But now I'm kind of I just let it happen.
And how long was it before you started doing live performances, or was that even a goal of yours, or did you want to just kind of have like this digital presence? What was happening?
It wasn't even a goal. I was kind of still lost in the sauce, like what's going on. But within a year, I was performing in front of 500 people. I was already a popular person just growing up. A lot of people knew me. So there was a promoter and a DJ who was one of my close friends, DJ So Wavy. His old manager called me one day, like, do you want to perform in front of 500? I'm like, next question? Like, of course. So, I kind of got booked to do that. And it was kind of like I was standing on a speaker with the microphone, you kind of got to pull it away so the feedback, like it was a lot going on, but I didn't even know I was brave enough to do that. Again, that was my first time doing anything like that, and I kind of just took it like a soldier and just did it. So I didn't really have a plan, but again, I just allowed what was meant to be to be.
And at what point did you start doing shows outside of the state? When did you like take this thing, nationally?
2019. So I left school December 2017, dropped the project 2018, and by 2019 I did 500 plus twice and the tour. So this was the year right before the pandemic, literally right before. So yeah, that's when we took it to Seattle, LA. I got, I was dropping music and freestyles that whole year after I left school, and someone named Mark Battles, he's a pretty decent, he's a great rapper, but he's pretty well known, like he has his own culture as far as fans.
Okay.
He announced he was going on tour. I'm like, yo, if you need someone to open up, like, let me know. He's like, okay, bet. My manager will DM you. I'm like, what the hell?
No way.
Yeah, it just happened like that. I didn't have that plan. So that's when I just went on tour with him. I did a few days. I did like 5 dates. I did New York, LA, Seattle, and San Francisco, and something else. Utah. Oh, yeah, Utah. You the man. And amazing experience. And Utah was the best place, I will say. When I was finished performing, people was asking for my autograph, took pictures with me. And I just left school like a year and a half before that. So you can imagine my brain is like, my mind is blown. Like when I got back home after all of that, I had a 500 plus performance that November. So imagine doing 500 plus, going on tour that summer, then doing another 500 plus in your home state. When I got back home, I literally bawled. I'm like, bro. Because again, I told you, I kept getting injured from basketball. I was at a very low state. And then 2 years or a year and a half after, you feel like you're on top of the world. The thing that you didn't even know you could do is not only putting money in your pocket, but it's giving you amazing experiences. So I just remember going back home. I'm like 21 years old at this time. I just left school not so long ago, bawling my eyes out. And my mom just comes and rubs my back. She's like, you have a lot of gratitude. Like, you really are thankful for this. And I'm like, I really am, because you see yourself one way and the world perceives you a different way, And I saw myself as like still that little shy kid growing up, or just, I wasn't too shy, but I had my own insecurities, And just the fact that I fought through all of those things, fought through injury, fought through my mental health, fought through all of those things, and ended up being brave enough to perform in front of 500 people and people I never even met, my mind was blown. That's when I knew, I'm like, I'm doing this no matter what. I'm doing it.
Right. It really seems like things were aligning in terms of your music career. And at what point do you realize that maybe you kind of want to start exploring other things? You have this Apply Pressure LLC with the philanthropy and the apparel, and then you also talked about motivational speaking. Like, were you kind of just comfortable with the way your music career was going, and you're like, okay, I have this ability to kind of put myself out there, and I want to be able to use this platform at a larger scale? Like, what was the motivation behind going into these other things? Even
on the smallest scales, when people support you, that means you have influence. Even if it's 5 people, I can influence those 5 people to buy something, to spend $5, So I just saw the way this thing was going, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be successful. I'm already successful. Success it's just how you perceive it. If I'm already performing in front of 500 people, I'm way more successful than I was last year. You know what I mean? It's just how you perceive it. So I'm like, how do we build on this? I knew I had best friends, and I knew I was already walking into the world of entrepreneurship. How do we all break away from the matrix, which is, just working every day and just, like the regular lifestyle? Not to say there's a problem with it, but just how do we break away from that? How do you guys endure what I just endured, which was going on tour, spending money, making money? How do you guys experience that? And the answer was Apply Pressure LLC. It was me and 3 of my other friends, including JP. And we kind of just sat at the mall, worked out all the kinks of the LLC, and we got it. And we made clothes. What was that, 2020? 2020, we made clothes. This is after all that stuff. Right before the pandemic, we sold so many hoodies. We sold like 400 hoodies, you know? And it was amazing. So that's kind of how that started. Just knowing if you already have a certain level of influence, how do you broaden that? You know, so I kind of just jumped into the world of entrepreneurship after that. And then the motivational speaking thing happened naturally. You make enough content and hold yourself at a high regard enough, people are going to start seeing you. So that's kind of what happened.
And so when you talk about kind of breaking free from the matrix, is this in regards to like helping the people around you break free, like giving them opportunity to kind of like invest into this vision? Is that what you kind of are explaining?
Yeah, and a vision that could make you money without working, you know, or to take you places that a job can't take you. Not to say there's anything wrong with the job, but the world is bigger than what we can imagine, you know? So I think I was blessed with the gift of vision, and I could always see things before they happen. And I just wanted my closest people to be a part of it. You know,
That's great.
That was just my mentality at the time.
Right. And so far, you've also, with this Apply Pressure, you've done things to give back. What are those things that you've done?
So every year but I do want to mention this.
Yeah.
Just because my heart is pure and I want people to be a part of something doesn't mean that's the way it's supposed to go. You know, it might start off that way, but eventually you guys have to look at each other and say, go be happy with what you want to do. This is just my vision. JP's the one who was like, no, this is my vision too, bro. I'm doing this shit. Which is, you see his AP, he got the AP hat on, the Apply Pressure hat.
Yeah.
I don't know what made him stick through with it, because I was prepared to just go in alone, but he just stood the test of time. But so every year we do philanthropy. We try to make it important, because I don't want to make it and people say, oh, Kase is just doing this because he made it, you know, like how everyone just magically comes up with a foundation when they make it. It's like, oh no, this is taxes. That's why you're doing it. You know what I mean? I'm wise enough to know that. So I'm like, nope, I'm going to create this thing where we do this consistently, and we try to build on it every year. So every Thanksgiving we give back to the less fortunate, the homeless, and every year we've been able to build on it. So last year was our 3rd or 4th, JP? Yeah, I think that was our 3rd year. We started in 2020. Yeah, so our 3rd year. Either way.
Right.
Yeah, it was our 4th year. So, and this was our best year. We got the most donations, and we were able to give the most away this year. So it continues to grow like a flower, like I said.
Right.
Yeah.
And is this something you're trying to do because you have the ability to do it, or like, do you just feel like what is really, like, what are you trying to do with this?
This is who I really am.
Is there an ultimate goal though? Like, I know for me, I have like a certain kind of thing. Like, I think for me, seeing different places has really given me the opportunity to expand like the opportunities that, or like the certain things that I want to do with my life. So I think if I were to do anything, it would be to like give people the opportunity to see new things. For you, is providing people with resources and stuff like that, is that like, are you motivating these people to be creative, or like, or is it just kind of just like you wanting to be more connected with communities and with people and that sort of thing?
I definitely want to be more connected, but this is just a small part of the bigger goal, which is changing lives for sure. So this is just the way that's the easiest way that's accessible for me to change people's lives, even if it's to see them smile on Thanksgiving, you know, or to give them things that they didn't have 30 minutes before walking up to us, you know. So, but the bigger goal is to influence the kids, you know, because that's the next generation, and just give them myself and whatever I have, and some type of influence and structure and direction. That is what I want to do. So like how you said you want to help people see other things in the world, that's something that was always in my heart too, which is I want to bring a group, because that's what happened to me. When I moved out of where we were from, my perception of the world expanded. that's when I knew more was possible. We don't know, or just like you, from moving from Oregon to here, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not, wait, there's graffiti on the wall? Like, nah, there's so much more to this thing than just where I'm from. And I know what that did for me. I know what that did for you. And I kind of just want to give that back to the world. So I, too, want to, gather a group of kids and just bring them somewhere. Why don't we go to Florida? You know how many people haven't been to Florida or even outside their town, So, yeah, that's the main goal, is to just influence the world, period. It doesn't even have to be kids. It can be anyone. I want people to be their authentic selves, their best selves, and I want them to not feel how I felt, which was alone, So that's why I want my music to be relatable, to bring it all back full circle. That's why I say what's in my heart, because someone is going to resonate with it. And I didn't have a me growing up. I was the oldest, so I had to be the tough one, the one with the guidance, the one who's always making the right choices. So I just learned to embrace it. I'll be everybody's big brother now, I'll help whoever needs help, because that's just who I am, and that's just what's in my heart.
So you saying that, are you a only child, or
I'm the oldest.
Oldest.
Of four.
Oldest of four.
Well, I'm the fourth, but yeah.
Got you. And I want to even take it back to you talking about kind of like you going to different places and understanding that there's other opportunities out there from your time going to like Utah to Seattle to Los Angeles. Were there any specific experiences or moments in there that really taught you a lot about yourself or a lot about what you could be doing? Do you have any memories or even anything that just like stood out to you and that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I just remember just being at the hotel, drinking, trying new drinks, new food, room service, knowing you have a performance later. Like, that's a crazy feeling. Mm-hmm. Like, just even how do you prepare yourself before a show, Or when I perform and everyone's asking for my autograph and post me on their Instagram, like actual posts.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't wait till Kase comes back to Utah. I'm like, what? Like, I can't perceive that. Like, I couldn't see that when I was sad in college, like trying to figure it out, So I think those are some of the things that kind of gave me that extra kick and just showed me something different and changed my perception of anything, like the world itself. How can I made these songs like writing them in the shower or just like in my bedroom, just like this, like typing, and you're affected by that and you want to take a picture of me and you want my autograph? Like, what is going on?
Right.
So that was kind of some of the things that kind of made me change. You don't even realize your perception is changing. It just kind of just happens once these experiences happen.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really good to get your perspective on just like how these specific moments in time, you just like being in your hotel room, just like enjoying that specific experience and knowing that you have this concert or like this performance lined up later and like it giving you that feeling of like gratitude and happiness and enjoyment and that like that's what kind of spirals you into this journey of like, I really am happy about what I'm doing and I'm happy about the impact that it has. So I want to get to quickly, or like I want to have you spend the time that you want to on it. But basically, if I have it correct, you released 2 projects this year, Golden Child 2 and Fourth Quarter. So from those 2 projects, what is like, is there anything you want to touch on with those projects?
Yeah, I mean, those projects are both, when you hear them, you can feel the liberation. Like, me finally getting out of my own head, finally getting out of my own way, embracing the deepest parts of myself, and also facing my insecurities head on, which was other people. It's when you grow up with people and you have their back growing up and then they have things to say, it could definitely, mess with your perception of things. But Golden Child in Fourth Quarter is me saying, I don't care about what anyone has to say anymore. I'm 100% in, and I'm doing this, and I don't care what it costs, even if it's me, myself. Because what I'm learning is it costs everything. Don't get it confused. It sounds good, but it costs everything.
Right.
I couldn't go to the parties. This is the things we didn't talk about. Like, I couldn't go out to the parties when my friends were partying. I couldn't drink when they wanted to. I couldn't smoke when they wanted to. I couldn't be around certain women because I knew you could lead me down a bad path. I had to be conscious about so many things. And
making sacrifices.
Yeah, I had to. Thank you. That's the good word. I had to make a lot of sacrifices that a lot of people don't see. So when you hear these 2 albums, you realize that I'm the truth. Like, I made those sacrifices. That's what I'm realizing is what I'm saying. In those 2 projects, I'm realizing that I am the truth. Period, point blank. I'm not lying to anyone. I'm doing things for the community. No, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, you're not doing it. So why would I care about what you're saying? You know what I mean? So I'm writing for other people. We didn't even speak about that. I'm a songwriter too. So just me realizing that I'm in my purpose. This is why I was born. I was literally born to do what I'm doing now. I was born to be my authentic self. And so were all of us were. But I feel like I made the sacrifices to actually be it. Like a few weeks ago, I was at this millionaire's house and his daughter wanted me to do a party at his house. You know what I mean? Random stuff. So I go into his house. He shakes my hand. He's like, oh, so this is the celebrity. And my mind is blown. Mind you, I have my hair braided, earrings, chain. This is all the stuff that society tells me not to do. I need to be clean shaven, look professional. No, I'm myself. So I feel like I put the work in to walk in any room being myself. And that's what Golden Child 2 is about. And that's what Fourth Quarter is about, is I am me and I'm free, which is the first song on Fourth Quarter. Is called I'm Free, because I'm finally free. I could wear my hair how I want. I could wear what I want, say what I want. Obviously, not disrespectfully, but like I'm no longer afraid of anything that the world tried to put on me. So I feel like these 2 projects are just liberating. I just liberated myself. But it took this long, from 2017, leaving school, fighting all of those things, to now where I'm in my purpose. This is what I'm doing 100,000,000%. And there's nothing else bothering me about it. Like there's no confusion anymore. I've seen enough. I've been on tour. I did my own shows. People came to see me. We did the philanthropy. Now it feels like I'm at my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of a wish or a hope. No, I'm doing my job. I'm doing why I was here. So long-winded, but that's what those albums are about, for sure.
No, I think that's really great that you brought this full circle. And the whole purpose of this podcast is not only to tell this story, but it's to encourage others to start their stories or to keep going along on the journeys that they've started. So for you to say, like, this took you from 2017 to now, like 6 years for you to like really kind of build up these experiences and build up these talents and find, people like JP to support you.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of just like going out there and trying and putting in the work. And then now you finally feel like you've kind of created this platform for yourself.
Yeah.
That is the base for you to kind of like catapult.
The foundation, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate you for
awesome.
even saying, because I don't really realize these things. It's not that many times I have these type of full circle conversations where we start from the beginning to the end. But talking to you, it really made me realize like the foundation is there. That's why you feel like enough is enough. That's why I feel like I'm free, because I am. Right. It's here. People are gonna come support when I do a show. People are gonna support when we ask for donations or when we do something, because we put the work in. So I appreciate you for saying that. I didn't really, it didn't download in my brain because I'm just living it. But you're absolutely right. The foundation is definitely there.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you guys making the drive over here to New York, pulling up, sharing your story with me, and especially with the audience out there. It's very wonderful that I get to do these things, and it's encouraging for myself too within my own career and with my own life. So before we kind of like round this out, I want to ask if there's any, advice for you like left to give, and also like how can people connect and support with the things that you're doing?
My biggest advice is the word journey. It's just look at this life thing as if you're walking through the woods. Don't look too far ahead and don't look too close to your face. Like enjoy the stroll. Enjoy every part of it. What I just described this whole time was the journey. I started at 0. I didn't know anyone in the industry. I didn't even know I could make music. And now we're all the way here, So it's not possible unless my mind stayed on the goal, but I didn't let the goal affect how I felt. I just took one step at a time every day. And when you do that, you get lost in the sauce. And then when you look back, it's like, holy cow, we just did all of this. I didn't even realize it. So easier said than done, of course.
Right.
But my biggest advice is to enjoy the journey, the ups, the downs, the peaks, the valleys, because it all goes to one place, and it's your highest good. It's for what's in your heart and what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So enjoy that journey. And that's for anyone out there. Enjoy the journey. It's so important. But other than that, you guys can find me at Kase 2.1 on Instagram, kaseap.com for our merch and more Kase news and videos and everything. And I just want to say thanks, Owen. I really appreciate this. You're a good guy. I love the energy, and I love the show, and I love the conversation, and I appreciate it. Seriously.
No, I really appreciate that, Kase. And I'll make sure to link everything in the episode description so that people can get, direct access to your stuff. Start playing that, blasting that on the speakers for sure.
For sure.
And let me know if you got anything coming up in the city. Would love to come out to a show, come support.
Working on it.
Wonderful.
Sure.
And we got to get a Owen's Exhibit hoop team going at some point, because we got a lot of hoopers that have been on the podcast.
Really?
So we're going to get something going for sure.
I'm with it.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
Yes. You too, bro. Thank you.
Good talk.
Yeah.